All right, hear me out. Today is Friday, February the 6th, 2026. This is So Says Mr. Thunder. I'm Mr. Thunder, and this is the podcast. If this your first time coming, and however you found your way here, I appreciate you for coming. For those of you who've been rocking with me since the beginning, you already know it ain't nothing but love. And man, it's been one hell of a journey. For those of you who have participated and been a part of this, the inspiration is ongoing. Um, man, 2026. Houston has already had a freeze. Shit has been crazy. The world is going crazy. Um, and as the world turns, obviously it affects you personally sometimes in a way where you gotta readjust, realign, and reconfigure some things. And in doing so, like I said, my favorite method in doing so is always seeking counsel. Counsel with those people who have your best interest in heart, that are going to tell you the hard truths and give you the lessons and the wisdom and discernment that is required for you to be successful. My messages come from various places. A lot of people ask me sometimes, how do you get your inspiration? Where does it come from? And all I can say is this is from God. God speaks to me in a different way from others, in a way that I believe is necessary in a world, in the world that we live in. So that's my purpose. This is what I do. So with that being said, man, the streaming world is taking over, and in that, you gotta find shows you like to watch. One of the shows I like to watch is this show called Shrinking on Apple TV. It's basically, to summarize it, it's a rom com about therapists in a therapist's office who need therapy, and they're all going through some shit. Yet, when we're going through some shit, we pay to have those people give us advice or guidance. So, if you got a chance, check it out. It's in the second season, but one thing I got of it is there's most recently the main character Harrison Ford is talking to a young man about what he's going through. Nothing bad, just a moment of doubt. And he asks him, does he believe in the Force? And he's asked him, do you mean the Force as in Star Wars, the Force? He's like, nah, Force as in the Force that reminds you of your purpose when called upon and makes you uncomfortable when you don't. So that man, that hit me in a way that kind of wrapped up everything that I've been thinking about and seeking counsel about and looking for discernment on. And the common theme that comes up is remember who you are, right? Whether it's me giving advice or somebody giving advice to me or me just learning something about myself, it's basically remember who you are, not who you were. And one of my favorite sayings is I didn't forget, I just didn't remember. I believe forgetfulness is loss of knowledge. Lack of remember, it just means when you remember something, you get back to it. You never lost the knowledge. You just weren't in the right space to pull it out. So the force is what forces you to make those decisions based upon what you remember. The crazy part about it is that when you remember who you are, you remember your purpose, right? No matter what you're going through, no matter what's happening in life, you always realize that the moment that you remember who you are, you're able to make a good decision and move forward. The problem is that a lot of times people get that confused with don't forget who I was. The crazy part about that is is if you continue to look back on who you were, you miss out on the purpose of who you are now, which either means one or two things. You haven't elevated, you haven't grown, or you haven't put yourself in a situation where you had to learn something and seek knowledge elsewhere than your own understanding. And for me, God speaks to me in a moment of, me trying to find myself or get myself back to a place where it's clicking. And in doing so, one of the people I always talk about seeking counsel with is my mom. Now, my mom is a very, 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 very religious woman, to the point where if you're a non-believer, after you meet her, you're going to believe that God is real, because this is rare to have somebody so excited about knowing God and wants to share it with you. So one thing she shared with me was a scripture of, it was Psalms 22:1, and it goes, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now, I'm not going to start Bible thumping and doing all that, but what I will say is the basic knowledge that people have of Jesus is that he died on the cross, and things happened to him where he had to cry out for God. Now, the thing about Jesus is he already knew why what he was going through was why he was going through it, is because he had already obtained the knowledge from God, and they had agreed that his purpose was going to be as such, and it was going to be painful, it was going to be uncomfortable, but the transition was going to be where the glory is. The story is in the pain. So God reminded him who he is by following through on his promise, on what he said he was going to do. So I say that to say, if Jesus can have a moment of hopelessness in the face of utter despair, to the point where he's got to cry out for God, and God reminds him by following through on a promise, if that can happen to him, it can happen to you. Remember who you are, and it will guide you to your purpose. Once you find your purpose, then you start understanding how you're supposed to move, how you're supposed to respond, things you should say, the ability to have the discernment to make good decisions, and also the ability to find an understanding in something that you may otherwise not have any knowledge in by seeking answers. I think everybody, matter of fact, I know, let me repeat that. Let me rephrase that. Otherwise, I believe that everybody on this earth has a purpose. And the purpose, no matter how it goes, what direction it comes from, and it leads to, the main purpose is for God. And at the end of the day, if you don't have that relationship with whatever God you choose to seek wisdom from, I suggest that you find it. Because as I said, the show I'm watching, Shrinking, is about therapists who need therapy. So who do you want to pay, and what do you want to pay for somebody to tell you, remember who you are? Have you had an experience where you were forced to remember who you are and not who you were? And if the first response was to remember who you were, you find out and gain the knowledge of why you're no longer that person. What makes you you? What's the relationship and purpose in your life that you have on others? Who knows? But why not do it in a way where you can communicate something so clear and so precise that they have no choice but to hear you? And when they hear you, they listen. When they listen, they learn. And when you learn, you're able to share, teach, and sharpen each other. Because wisdom is only knowledge applied, but you got to seek the knowledge first and apply it to your life so that it becomes wisdom. And then, and only then, will you be able to speak about the times where you were reminded of who you are. This has been So Says Mr. Thunder. I'm Mr. Thunder. I'm a Native American of this country, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. If you want to participate in this podcast, I sure like to hear 10 minutes of your best. Whether you agree, disagree, or you got something to get off your chest, I'd love to hear it because I believe that everybody got something to say, everybody got something to share. The problem is they can't get it in conversations because they're having the conversations with the wrong people. They're not reading the room, but I hope that you got something to say, and I'd love to hear from you. You can go ahead and reach out to me. You can DM me on the Instagram, So Says Mr. Thunder. I can be found on pretty much all social media platforms under So Says Mr. Thunder. YouTube, Spreaker is the main platform that I use, but it distributes on all podcast platforms. And like I said, I want to hear about you. I want to hear from you because guess what? It's not about me. It's about you. Until next time, I love to hear about when you were reminded of who you are. Until next time, peace.